I firmly believe that when women collaborate, share resources, and genuinely root for one another to win, it helps us all go further, faster. But what keeps us from truly experiencing the magic that collaboration can bring into our business and just our life? Today, I'm getting honest about some of the barriers that have held me back from collaborating with other powerful women and what I've done to help me move past some of them and create some seriously powerful collaborations in this particular season of my own journey. Everyone, I'm excited to get to hang out with you for a few minutes today. I have been thinking a lot about this topic and excited to talk a little bit about collaboration beyond just the cute hashtags that we throw around on social media. Before we do that, I just really want to remind everyone, this is exactly why we created the Powerhouse Women community and event. It's one thing to cheer each other on and leave comments on one another's social media, but when you put yourself in a room with like-minded women who are doing big things, you have the opportunity to build connections and collaborations that can take you so much further in your own journey. So I would be doing you a disservice if I didn't give one last plug for Powerhouse Women, the event. It's coming up in just a little over a week when you hear this episode, and I would love to see you there. I cannot wait. If you have questions, if you are on the fence, if you just need a little reassurance before diving in, send me a message. I would love to hear from you, and I seriously cannot wait to meet you on September 7th. So let's talk a little bit about this whole topic of collaboration. You know, I'm in this interesting phase of my own journey where some really exciting and really powerful collaborations have come into my world as opportunities. And it had me really reflect back on the journey of what it took for me to even get to this point, because truthfully, there was a lot in my way that was preventing me from even being able to see opportunities like this or step into them. And I'm always willing to tell it like it is because I'm just on my own version of this same journey and I don't have this all figured out. And when these bigger breakthroughs and cool opportunities come, I think for me, I'm the type of person that gets very introspective, and I really am able to step back and look at my own growth and acknowledge the work that I've done in order to get to a place where this is even an option. And there was truly a lot in my way when it came to being able to collaborate. And it all came down to my own belief in myself, my own insecurities and doubts and fears playing on repeat. So much that we've already talked about on this podcast about getting out of your own way in that sense is going to really come into play in this conversation. But I thought I was actually just thinking back to, man, a few years ago, these collaborations that are now a reality wouldn't have even been an option for me. And I was thinking about why. So I thought what would be helpful is to just share with you kind of the three things that I really identified that I had to get out of the way before I had any space whatsoever to be able to step into opportunities for collaboration and really, really powerful ones that have more recently come about. And this is an important topic for me because, it's literally what Powerhouse Women and the whole vision of what we're doing is built on. The idea that we're not meant to do this alone, not business, not life. And yet so many women, and I even catch myself in this conversation, so many women say that they feel alone. They feel lonely on this entrepreneurial journey. They feel like everyone else is crushing it and they suck. Well, we all feel that way, spoiler alert, from time to time. We all have those same thoughts run through our minds. But I think a lot of what leads to those thoughts and has us feel lonely and isolated are the same things that keep us from collaborating and actually creating these powerful partnerships that help us go further faster. So I think if we can just get honest about what's in the way, it'll not only open up more confidence for you in your business, but far more opportunities to allow others to contribute to you. So when I thought about what really, really kept me from collaborating, first and foremost, the number one thing that came to my mind was I had a serious lack mentality around how much opportunity there was to go around. So it was like this deep-rooted belief, and I don't know where it came from, doesn't even matter. But when I would think about things like collaborating or doing a project with another woman, it would be like this fear or this question would come up right away. Well, yeah, but what if people actually like her better than me? What if they want to do her programs instead of mine? What if it almost shines a light on how not worthy I am? And I'm just being real because I think we actually all have had these thoughts from time to time, and I have too. But it was almost like if someone else got ahead or got an opportunity, then somehow magically in this universe there was less opportunity for me. And that's like the stuff that's not pretty to talk about. No one wants to admit that deep down, maybe that's a fear that we wrestle with. But I couldn't actually move past it until I acknowledged the fact that was a serious fear. That was a serious block around being able to allow others into my world and actually open myself up to collaboration. But when we think about it, we live in an age where there's actually no physical lack of opportunity. We have the internet, which I think is staying around. I think it's here to stay, if you ask me. We're digitally connected more than ever before, and people literally create money and opportunity out of thin air. I mean, I heard about this business the other day where someone has a business that they created where they go around and collect all the little scooters, like the Bird scooter or whatever the brand, and they charge them for the companies overnight. And they make like six figures, more than six figures. So someone can think of an idea and start monetizing it today with the power of the internet and technology. So when we think about it from like the scope of how much is available to us, and even just the fact of like how quickly money can be generated if we take it down to like a fear or lack mentality around money, there's actually no real scarcity is the word I'm looking for. So the fear that if I get or someone else gets an opportunity that makes less for me, like there's some mythological pie chart, and if someone else gets a sliver, that's one sliver less for me. That's actually not true. I think I heard this on a podcast. I want to say it was Chris Harder, his For the Love of Money podcast. I want to say it was him that said this, how that mentality actually has just followed us through back from days when the main currency was things like land, where there was a physical amount of land, and if someone else had a piece of land, then you did not have that piece. But we're not living in that day and age anymore. And that was actually really helpful for me to shake off any last remaining fear or lack mentality, scarcity mindset that there isn't enough opportunity to go around. Because I would bet that if you feel any hesitation around collaboration in general, that there may be underlying some lack mentality, a scarcity mentality that you may not even be aware of. And it's the first place to look. Because even if we talk about the other two things I'm going to share, if underlying there's this fear of if I open myself up to another person's influence or, share my resources, share my community with them, they might take something that's mine. That's always going to rear its ugly head, even if you find like the most ideal of partnership situations. So I think that's got to be the first thing that we address. And it's something that I'm always conscious of because I don't think this ever truly goes away, even though logically I know it's not true and that there is more than enough opportunity to go around. I am very protective over my community. And that doesn't mean that it doesn't make me scarcity minded if I'm cautious about who I open up my community to. But it's a different conversation if I'm not willing to open it up to anybody, or if I'm doing so with almost sort of like a closed fist. If you imagine like palms open, hands up, and a closed fist, it's a very different energy. If I trust that the people who are meant to learn from, our community and be a part of our events are going to find us, and that the people who are meant for someone else's event are going to find them, then it's just it has this energy of flow. Like there's no need to hold on to anything because none of this is mine to begin with. And that there's so many other people, there's new people waking up to their potential every single day who we could serve. So it doesn't necessarily mean you're going to collaborate with everybody, but check in with yourself and actually ask, do you feel like you can actually open up to collaborate with anyone? And then it's a matter of finding the people who really do align and who feel like a perfect fit. But if you're noticing that when you ask yourself that question, the answer is no one, like there's no one around you to collaborate with, then you may want to look underneath the hood and see if there's any underlying scarcity feelings or fear mindset around how much there is to go around. Check and see if there's a pie chart in your brain that you're subconsciously divvying up and only giving yourself a certain percentage of. There is no pie chart. Okay, so if you're willing to look there first, then I think for me, the next thing that really was getting in the way of me being able to collaborate was putting this weird pressure on myself that I had to be good at all of the things. All of them. I had to be good at sales and marketing and creating websites and writing programs and putting on events and every little detail of events. It's sort of silly when I start to list out all of the things that I truly was trying to do on my own. If you wonder where this whole motto, "we're not meant to do this alone," came from, it's mostly just the reminder that I need every single day of my life, because I am guilty of saying things like, well, no one else can do this like I could, so I'm just going to do it myself. I was totally that annoying person in group projects where I would be like, yeah, you guys can pretend that you had a part in this, but really I'll just do it all so that it's done the way I know I want to do it. And there was just so much in the way of me being able to collaborate because it really was pressure. I put pressure on myself. I had to be good at everything. But what I want to say, not the fix, but what helped me start to let go of that was I started to read more and hear more about identifying what is your zone of genius. And there's a couple great books I can recommend. The first one that's coming to mind that I'll link in the show notes is called The Big Leap. And he talks about, really finding that zone of genius, that sweet spot where you thrive, where not only you're great at it and it comes naturally to you. There's so many elements that can make up what your zone of genius is. But the more that I focused on really tapping into what I'm uniquely great at, not just good, but uniquely great at, the more I've been able to appreciate other people's zones of genius in the process. So again, I think part of this was mixed in with a little bit of that lack mentality. If someone else is great at this and I allow them to come in, it almost shines a light at my own inadequacies. Well, we all have inadequacies. We all have things that we're not great at. But because I wasn't spending the time to actually nurture and develop the things that I was great at and trying to just maintain being okay at all of the things, I was really triggered by the fact that someone else might be shining in a specific area. It wasn't until I really honed in on my own zone of genius that I could fully appreciate the other areas of genius that people had around me and allow them in. So I think about this in terms of a program that we just put together. It wasn't even something we ended up promoting because we filled it right away just from the few women we threw the idea out to, where people have been asking for a little while for a higher level program within Powerhouse Women, something like business coaching or a mastermind or group coaching, and nothing felt right. And I was willing just to wait until I found something that actually felt like a fit. And what was interesting was I decided not to actually develop anything at all, but instead to shine a light on two programs that have had a huge impact in my own life. And I'm going to be sharing more about this on a future episode. I'm not trying to be like super secretive about this, but I'm just like getting at the point that I decided that I didn't need to reinvent something. I just needed to offer women the programs that had made the biggest impact on my own life. And so we put those together. I stepped in and created what I'm really great at, which is fostering community and a supportive environment for women to grow and get out of their own way. And then providing that support along the way so that they know they're not alone and they know they're not the only one going through this roller coaster of growing into the next level version of themselves. So I got to thrive in the area that I'm great at. I shine a light on women who are really, really crazy talented at things that they do. And we put it together in one big program. And it's honestly like my favorite thing that I'm working on now. And you are going to get to hear a little bit more about that, where this is kind of like our baby little test round of it, our beta program. And then we're definitely going to be relaunching it again in the future. So I'll share more about that on another episode. But the third thing that I wanted to get to that really was in the way of me being able to collaborate with people is a big one. And I'm guessing a lot of us may struggle with this. I don't know. I'm just taking a temperature of the room. That it was really difficult for me to ask for help. And this, I think it was really tied to the one I just talked about. I thought I had to be good at all the things. So if I asked for help in an area, it was me admitting that I wasn't. It was me confusing that if I asked for help, it meant I was weak. And it really resulted in me being burnt out and not being able to fully even invest the time in, again, going back to the last one, my own zone of genius. And it really took, it's interesting. I think sometimes we create the things that we truly need in life. And this whole message of we're not meant to do this alone is just as much for me as it is for you. It was probably more for me. And then it ended up like, oh, other women really struggle with this too and feel like they're alone. So then it really became ours. But it was this reminder for myself that no one person has all of the skills and the talents necessary to bring especially a really big vision to life. I think we're wired to need each other. I truly think we are wired deep down for collaboration. That when these big ideas or like a nudge to create something next level for you, it is delivered and you kind of like download that you feel like you're meant to start that podcast or that event or create that course. You're given the vision for it. But then you're not given all of the skills and the resources that you would need in order to bring that thing to life. And I think that's on purpose because I think then our work is to be responsible for the vision. So I have the overall vision of like what I see for Powerhouse Women at this stage. And I'm very clear in that mix where my strengths are. And then I'm really clear where I could use some serious help. And it took a while for me to get there, but once I started to seek out women who actually love doing the things that I hate. So think about in your business, if there's an aspect that you just dread, all of your energy drains when you have to do that thing. You may not be at the point right away where you can outsource it or collaborate with someone to make that happen. But once I started to realize that one that just like pops into my mind is like email campaigns. I dread sitting down to like do email campaigns and all the back end stuff of scheduling. But there's like, I have a friend, you're going to hear her on the podcast. She loves it. She geeks out over email campaigns. It is like, it brings her so much joy. And I think when I started to piece that together, like, whoa, there are people who actually find so much joy in doing the things that I don't love. What would it look like if I focused on the things that I love and was willing to outsource the others and collaborate to allow other women or men to shine in the areas that they love, how much more could that help us impact people? So again, just like kind of recapping the three, I really had to look first and foremost at whether I was coming from a mentality of fear and lack and scarcity and had that invisible pie chart in my mind that if someone else got ahead, there wasn't enough for me. I had to look there first. But then I had to look at, am I putting pressure on myself to be great at everything, or am I investing time to get really clear about my zone of genius and then be willing to ask for help in the areas that are not that zone of genius? And the more that I was willing to look at that, the more I saw myself, instead of having to be great in all areas, the more I saw myself as one like chess piece in this overall master plan for making the world go round and truly making the world better. That I feel inspired to do the specific things that I'm doing right now. And I am so grateful that there are people inspired to do other things, to help make this podcast possible, to put out books and videos and resources that I know that women in our community need. And it's not up to me to provide every single resource, every single piece of content. I just need to focus on what I'm great at and what I'm going through at the moment that I think might help you, and understand that the opportunities that are meant for me are going to come. And if I'm trying to do all the things, I may risk missing out on an opportunity that was literally perfect for me. And I really want you to know the same thing, that you don't have to be good at all the things. You are wired in a beautiful and unique way for a purpose and for a reason. And the more you hone in on that and start to pay attention to how supported you are, like how many people are put in your life to help fill in the gaps where maybe you need some help or you could learn a thing or two, life and business become a whole lot more fun. So I feel like this is a perfect opportunity to remind you what we remind you often, that we are just not meant to do this alone.